The topic of this video lecture is efficacy versus potency. Before we compare efficacy and potency, it is important to understand dose-response relationship. Dose-response relationship. Drug administered into the systemic circulation increases the plasma concentration of the drug. As the plasma concentration of the drug increases, the drug reaches the relevant target site or the receptors and triggers a pharmacological response of the drug. Thus, the dose-response relationship has two components. Firstly, the dose-plasma concentration relationship, where the dose increases, which increases the plasma concentration of the drug. And secondly, plasma concentration and response relationship, which means that as the plasma concentration of the drug increases, the response increases. The relation between drug concentration and effect is represented by a hyperbolic curve and described by the following equation. E is equal to E max multiplied by concentration divided by concentration plus EC50. So E is the effect observed at concentration C. E max is the maximal response that can be produced by the drug, and EC50 is the concentration of the drug that produces 50% of maximal effect. The dose response data can be presented as plot of the drug effect against the logarithm of the dose or concentration. So this transforms hyperbolic curve into sigmoid curve with a linear mid portion. The given graph shows that the biological effect of the drug is linearly related to the number of receptors bound. That is, it is directly proportional to the number of receptors activated. The given graph shows the dose-response data presented as a plot of the drug effect against logarithm of the dose or concentration. The linear portion indicates that response to the dose increase is changing rapidly. So what are the advantages of plotting log dose response curve? Firstly, a wide range of drug doses can be easily displayed on a graph. And secondly, comparison between agonist and antagonist becomes easier. Now that we have understood dose response curve and log dose response curve, let us compare efficacy and potency. What is efficacy? Drug efficacy refers to the maximal response that can be elicited by the drug. On the graph, the upper limit of the dose response curve is the index of drug efficacy. So now let us compare it with potency. Now what is drug potency? Drug potency refers to the amount of drug needed to produce a certain response. For example, 10 mg of morphine is equal to 100 mg of pethidine. So morphine is more potent than pethidine, which means that less dose is required to produce a given therapeutic effect compared to pethidine, where more dose is required to produce a given therapeutic effect. On the graph, the position of the dose response curve on the dose axis is the index of drug potency. The given graph shows the effects of morphine, pethidine and aspirin. When comparing morphine and aspirin, morphine is more potent than aspirin. This is because lesser dose of morphine produces a given therapeutic effect compared to aspirin, where a greater dose is required to produce the same therapeutic effect. Also, morphine is more efficacious than aspirin. This is shown by the upper limit of the dose response curve of morphine, which is greater than aspirin. So, morphine is more efficacious than aspirin and it is more potent than that of aspirin. It is more potent because less dose is required to produce a given therapeutic effect compared to aspirin, and it is more efficacious than aspirin, which is represented by a higher dose response curve. When morphine is compared with pethidine, morphine is equally efficacious as pethidine. As shown in the graph, the upper limit of the dose response curve for both morphine and pethidine are same. So morphine is equally efficacious as pethidine. But in terms of potency, pethidine is less potent than that of morphine because greater dose of pethidine is required to produce the same therapeutic effect as that of morphine at lesser doses. The next graph shows the effects of hydralazine and polythiazide. Hydralazine has a steep dose response curve compared to polythiazide that has a flat dose response curve of antihypertensive effect. The steep slope suggests that a moderate increase in the dose will markedly increase the response, whereas a flat curve shows little increase in response occurs over a wide range of doses. These are my references. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and share.